All right, I'm Sergeant Dawkins. I'm with the Jasper Police Department. Last night on October 8th, around 6:30 p.m., we received a call from 911 about a plane that had crashed from the Pickens County Airport. The plane was the crash was off the south end of the runway. After a brief search, the plane was located near a business on Salem Church Road in Jasper, Georgia. The wreckage come from a PA-38 Piper Tomahawk that was only occupied by one person, which was the pilot. The pilot was identified as a Michael Joseph Hughes. After the pilot was assisted by the emergency response teams, they noticed that he was deceased at the time. NTSB as well as the FAA was notified, and they will be taking over the investigation. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Todd Gunther with the NTSB, and he will be able to fill you in on any other questions you might have regarding the investigation of the crash.
Just one quick question about the victim. He's 21?
Yes, sir.
And he's from Jasper?
No, he is actually from Blairsville. Georgia.
From Blairsville, Georgia. Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Gunther. I'm an air safety investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board in Washington, D.C. First of all, our condolences to the friends and family of the victim of this tragic accident. Myself and my team have been assembling since this morning after we were contacted by the Jasper Police Department last evening. We left from two different places. One, Washington, D.C. Is where I came out of, and then my engine specialist also came out of Pennsylvania, just north of where we're at. We also have other personnel from the Federal Aviation Administration's Atlanta Flight Standards District Office that are assisting us on scene, as well as the Jasper Police and Fire Departments and other local emergency service personnel. Now, we just started the investigation, so there's not a lot that I can tell you, but up to this point we can tell you a few facts that we do know. First of all, the student pilot was in the PA-38, as the sergeant was telling you, and he was doing what are called touch-and-go landings, practicing. This was his third solo flight. He ended up doing one touch-and-go landing, did a second one, and then on the second one, according to witnesses, after takeoff, the aircraft's engine stopped making noise. Now, we don't know what that means exactly yet. That's something that we're looking into. The airplane was then observed to go ahead and enter what someone described as something similar to an aerodynamic stall. The nose pitched down and the airplane appeared to spin to the left until it disappeared behind trees, and then witnesses heard the aircraft impact. Now, what we've been doing so far since we've been on site is that we're currently assessing the wreckage itself, which is the remains of the aircraft that are currently out in the field that's behind you. Additionally, we're also looking at the wreckage path, in other words, where the aircraft came to rest and how it may have gotten there. We'll also be looking at the structure on the airplane to determine whether or not we had any type of failure, and also looking at the flight control system to see if there was any type of failure with the flight control system itself. Now, preliminary results from this investigation so far, what we can tell is that we have not lost any major portions of the airframe. The entire airplane, as far as we can tell, is located on site. The flight control system appears to have been intact during the impact sequence itself, and the airplane, from what we can tell, was controllable in both the pitch axes, which is the airplane's nose going up and down, the yaw axes, which would allow the airplane to go left and right, and the roll axes, which would allow the airplane to roll side to side. Now, currently we're assessing the fuel system on the airplane. We do know that there is fuel on board the airplane, and we're currently taking measurements to make a determination as to how much fuel is actually on board. We're also looking at the engine system, the power plant itself, which is a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine that puts out approximately 105 horsepower and spins what's called a fixed-pitch propeller. Now, initial examination of the propeller itself does not indicate that the propeller may have been turning or may have been windmilling at the time, and that's something else that we're looking into. Now, my team and I are going to be here through today and through tomorrow. Tomorrow we're bringing in some recovery equipment to pick the aircraft up so that we can also look at the underside and look at other portions of the structure itself and components on the airplane. We're also assessing maintenance records that we've retrieved from the airport itself, as well as taking witness statements. Additionally, we're also working with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation for pathological means in order to be able to assess the performance of the pilot. Now, any NTSB investigation basically consists of a number of things. we look at both what we commonly refer to as the man, machine, and environmental interface. So we'll be looking at the pilot itself to determine if there was some type of physical impairment or physiological impairment that could have affected the flight. We'll be looking at the machine itself, which is the airplane, to determine if it was functioning properly. And we'll also be looking at the environment, including the weather conditions, if they may have affected the flight. Now what will happen is in approximately 7 to 10 days, once I leave the field with my team, we'll produce a preliminary report. And that preliminary report will have the facts, conditions, and circumstances as we know it up to that point, and it is subject to change. Then approximately 9 months to a year after, we'll produce a factual report. And associated with that factual report will be a public docket which includes photographs, documentation, and data that supports the investigation. Now at any time during the investigation, if we find anything that's of a concern to the traveling public or the aviation industry in general, we can issue recommendations at any time. Once that report has been released, then approximately 60 to 90 days after that point, the 5 board members that are appointed by the President of the United States will issue a statement of probable cause. Now, with that, I have time for a few questions.
Was the plane owned by the individual, or was it rented through a flight service here on the airport? Or?
Yeah, the airplane was rented by the student from a flight school that's located here on the airport.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what the altitude of the plane was before the witnesses reported hearing the engine stall or go
No,
quiet?
we don't, and that's something that we're looking into. Part of the witness interview process, one of the things that we're doing is we're correlating their positions with what they saw in order to be able to try to make a determination as to how high the aircraft was above that.
And I don't know if there's a control tower here. Was there any kind of Mayday communication by the pilot?
None that we've heard about, and that's something also we're still looking into.
Okay.
How is the record for this airport here, or is there one for this type of incident?
I couldn't tell you that. You'd have to check with the Federal Aviation Administration about that. They license the airports and the airmen.
How about this particular aircraft? I mean, is it known to be, in general, safe?
That would be something you'd need to check with the Federal Aviation Administration.
Okay. Do you know the age of the plane?
Yeah, the aircraft was built, it's a PA-38-112 Piper Tomahawk, and it was built in 1978.
And how common is that aircraft? Pretty...
I don't know the exact numbers that Piper built, but there were numerous ones built by the Piper Aircraft Corporation.
And it's a turboprop, or?
No, it's a piston-powered airplane. It has a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine, and it's a 2-seat trainer-type aircraft.
Trainer type.
Mm-hmm. And I have time for one more question. I got to get back to work.
The fact that you crashed so close to the power lines which aren't knocked down, does that indicate like a straight nosedive down?
That's something that we're looking at. According to witnesses, as we said before, they did notice what one witness described as an aerodynamic stall. They saw the nose of the airplane drop, and then the airplane went into what he referred to as a spin.
So we don't know at this point if this was pilot error or something with the mechanics of the plane.
I couldn't comment on that right now. That would be speculation on my part.
Yeah, that's all has to be determined in the course of the investigation. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good for me.
Thanks.
Thank you.